you. Thank you so much. Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's play briefing for White Pearl by Anchuli Felicia King. Before we begin tonight, I'd like to honour the traditional owners of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal and the Yagara people. This has always been a place of storytelling. Tonight, and in fact the entire season of White Pearl, has been made possible by BDO and Board Matters and our principal partner, RACQ. Applause for them. I am not Lee Lewis. My name is Danielle Evans and I'm an associate artist here at Queensland Theatre, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all here tonight. I'm going to start with a bit of context. This might take a while, but I think it's important. So far this season we've been to small town Grover's Corners, we've been to downtown New York in Glace Chase's XXX, and to the film studio floor in Taming of the Shrew. But for our next production, we're boarding an express flight to Singapore. White Pearl is set in the offices of Clear Day Cosmetics, a giant cosmetic conglomerate run by an ambitious team of young women who are set to reap the benefits of their new cosmetic range called White Pearl, a skin whitening cream. But when their new TV commercial is leaked online, they begin to blow up in a way that they had never intended. So where did this work come from? In her writer's notes, Felicia, our playwright, mentions that in 2016, ads for whitening products kept popping up on my newsfeed. These ads, variously Thai, Chinese and Korean, had gone viral online, having been deemed racist by the global populace. What struck me about this phenomenon is that I'd seen ads like this all the time growing up in Thailand and the Philippines. Yet, in the age of YouTube and hashtag cancel culture, content could no longer exist in a national vacuum. It was suddenly accountable to a global discourse on race, being critiqued in a form not particularly well suited to nuance. So I wrote a play about it. There is no one theme in White Pearl. It delves into many subjects: the cosmetics industry, racial politics, beauty standards, startup culture, capitalism, and the English language, to name just a few. The play is thematically overloaded because at its core, this is a play about nuance and the danger of its absence. This play has sold out in London and Washington, and its Australian production, which opened in Parramatta in 2019, has also sold out. It's been asleep for a year, but now it's waking up in the Sunshine State right here at Queensland Theatre before transferring to Sydney Theatre Company in July. Tonight we are joined by some of the cast and crew to delve into the world and wit of this play. I've only read this play, I haven't seen it, but I can say it is funny, it is heartbreaking, it is packed full of ideas, and I'm so excited for you guys to see it. Enough of me, I'm going to get these guys to introduce themselves, maybe starting from this end.
Thank you, Dan. My name's Priscilla, I'm the director. Hi, my name is Mayu, I'm playing the role of Rookie.
Hello, my name is Vaishnavi and I play Priya.
I'm Cheryl and I play Sunny.
Hi, I'm Nicole and I'm playing Built.
Hello, I'm Deborah, I'm playing Sujin.
Hi, I'm Lynn, I'm playing Xiao.
Hi, my name's Matt, I'm playing Marcel.
Hi, I'm Jeremy, I'm the set and costume designer.
Hi, my name is Mealy and I'm composer and associate sound designer, and our lead sound designer, Micah Toshuto, is in Sydney.
And hi, my name is Damien, the lighting designer.
Round of applause. Okay, so full disclaimer, this play is full of many twists and turns. So I've had to frame some questions tonight to not reveal all of them, which means that there's one actor in particular who I won't have a question for, and please don't ask questions too deeply of, or you will ruin the play. But I've got a coded question for him a bit later. I was wondering, a question to the cast first. Can you, Clear Day Cosmetics is a highly strung place to work. Can you talk us through what sort of workplace is it, and what makes today, when we are watching the play, this day of work, particularly unique, perhaps, for all of you?
You
took a breath. Oh no, I missed the last part of that question, sorry.
What makes the day of the play unique? Like, what happens when the play opens that's going to spin all of these lives out of control?
Why do I have to answer?
Well, essentially, one of their advertising campaigns goes viral for all the wrong reasons. As you said, it's gone global and it's had a very bad response. People are taking offence, particularly from the West. So we pretty much jump on this day of hell where it opens with Priya and Sunny, and they're just seeing the views climb and climb to hundreds of thousands to millions, and essentially the downfall and chaos that happens from there.
Amazing. Does anyone want to speak maybe a bit generally to what the commercial is, or what actually, can we spoil that a little bit, do we think? Is that all right? Yes, yes. Red turtleneck lady in the front row is like, absolutely, give it all away. No surprises.
I announce what happens in the actual. So my character, Bille, she's a drama queen. She loves drama. She loves stirring the pot. So essentially when these girls are having this crisis, she comes in and makes this big announcement. She thinks it's such a big joke. And it's really just a highlight for her. She's just basking in the sunshine. But essentially it's, so reveal, Priscilla? Yeah?
Spoiled.
Just in a nutshell? Okay. Pretty much, this ad follows a young, dark-skinned Chinese woman, and her boyfriend essentially leaves her for a lighter-skinned Chinese woman. And she's quite sad, and she takes a trip to the supermarket, and she's stopped by a woman who recommends our product, and we freak out. The girls freak out as soon as they hear that it's our brand. And, oh gosh, it involves blackface and an afro and hip hop, and it's just all these like stereotypical things that are just thrown into this ad that the Asian community at the time, they didn't see it as a joke. They're like, oh, it's just light-hearted fun, but it was actually really, really not taken well at all.
Yeah, so it's a deeply racist ad that was made for. It's revealed was made for the Chinese market and was not deemed to be particularly offensive, but actually very funny and a great selling point. And of course, with our very Western lens, that PC culture is deeply offended by the ad. And so what transpires is a really interesting debate and conversation with 6 different points of view from 6 women from different Asian countries that all have slightly different takes on the merit or the horror of what this ad is. So there's a really strong sense of us as an audience being made to feel quite uncomfortable, particularly from a white Western perspective, as we kind of lift the lid on a lot of other perspectives that this ad campaign has become a lightning rod for.
Amazing. This is maybe for the whole team, if you want to jump in, but what struck you about this script when you read it? Like, was there a moment where you went, I'm in. Like, I've got to be in this production, I've got to do this. Does anyone have an yeah?
Okay. I mean, I think all of us experienced similar things, but when you first time read the script, it's the word you would never say in public place or on stage is there, a lot of there. And there is one scene I absolutely in love with it's towards the end, but then there is one line I can't say, I don't want to say here yet, but it was important line that I could never say to another Chinese girl, but I would say it, and I thought that's brilliant that there is a space to do that, to face the racism and discuss that and see the reaction is actually very exciting. So, yes, definitely there's a line or text for me that I wanted to do, absolutely. But anybody?
I think one thing was how fast-paced it was, and I think as an actor, it's just so fun to be part of that. And also, it's so funny. it's really, really funny. But also there's a lot of like discomfort within it, which is interesting to explore as an actor as well, and like having conversations with the other actors of how like this is highly inappropriate, but we're laughing about it, but also, hey. So I think it's really smartly written, and it's also really funny, and that's what drew me to it.
Amazing. I'm just wondering, can you tell us a bit about which character you play if we go through the cast, and whereabouts in Asia you are from? Because one of the beautiful joys of this is that actually it's kind of like this melting pot office, which is where a lot of the comedy, particularly in the back half of the play, comes from, and provides a lot of like, oh my gosh, they're saying that, they're really going there moments. Like it's quite a beautiful, awful, horrific kind of culmination to the play. I had to read it over numerous sittings going, oh my gosh, how are they going to imagine this in the world of the theatre? Do you guys want to run through who you play in the show?
So we are in Singapore, and then I'm playing the role of a Japanese new employee of the Clear Day. So my role is a rookie, and yes.
So I play Priya, who is the founder and CEO of Clear Day, which is a cosmetics skincare startup company. She is... I'm trying to find a very nice political way of describing her. She is an alpha female, and she knows what she wants, and she expects to get that from everyone that she's hired. And she's not afraid of speaking her mind either. So in all of this, when women from all different countries of Asia have come together in Singapore as this melting pot of commerce, and she's heading this division, fireworks definitely fly.
Sunny is a Chinese Singaporean, and she is your sort of hype girl, sort of tries to make everyone comfy. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
So Bille is a Thai-American woman. She provides the Western perspective as part of Clear Day. So similar to Priya, as I mentioned, she's a drama queen. She's a narcissist for sure, and also very much a sociopath like her ex-boyfriend Marcel, who we'll come down to.
So I play Sujin Park, who is the Korean in the team, and she has a very strong work ethic, and she is the chemist of Clear Day. So she created the cream itself, which is odd for her. Oh, not odd for her, but it's just a contrast to her views on beauty, because she doesn't actually give. Succumb to the way that Asia is with beauty, with like whitening cream. She doesn't use all that. So the fact that she made one, maybe that's something I need to ask myself as a character. Why? That's a thought for later in my hotel room. Yes, she has a very good friendship with Xiao.
I'm playing Xiao Chen. She is from China. She is the weakest English speaker of the team. She's very much China educated, so she hasn't been overseas. She's not Western educated like Priya and Bille were, so she has a very different mindset and perspective to them. To say that she is going through a lot would be an understatement. She's struggling a lot of the play, and she's juggling a lot of things, not just the meltdown of the office of that day. She's got a lot of things on her plate, and is a very interesting character. And she's got lots of different. She's got like different alliances with different characters in the office as well. So it's interesting to see how that has all played out.
Marcel's not from Asia. Marcel, without giving too much away, he loves love. He's very passionate about his pursuit of love, and that pursuit is not always healthy. So I'll leave it at that for the lovely Marcel. He is French. I'm allowed to say that he is French.
He's French. More on.
Yeah.
That's my question for you later. coming soon. Priscilla, when did you first encounter this play? And when you were assembling the team for it, what was some? I mean, directors immediately have that kind of go-to. What came to you first? Was it music? Was it light? Was it cast? Was it a sense of the world? What struck you immediately about this show?
Yes, I first read the script in 17, because our first production was in, I'm so lost with COVID, it throws everything out, doesn't it? Our first production was in 2019, so I read it the year before. And I was completely struck by the language and the power of the language. I'd never read anything like it. The words literally fly off the page, and the most interesting thing for me was to really understand and hear the extraordinary different rhythms that Felicia, our writer, has achieved for these 6 very different women. Each character, if you listen out for their language, is completely different. And there's such a debate, as Felicia's notes have said, there's themes of obviously racism and in particular Pan-Asian racism, the racism that goes on within Asia. But there's wider questions of racism, there's questions of patriarchy. It's no surprise that we have one token white male in the cast. There's questions obviously about corporate culture, about the role of women, the way that women treat other women, and the way that the West sort of views itself as the primary stance on all things moral, and where that can be pressed against and pushed and debated. And so there was so much fireworks in the work that I was originally reading. I was absolutely captivated from the first few pages, and so for me then, part of the research of getting to really understand White Pearl and that world was, I did take a trip to Singapore, and felt a sense of absolute captivation for everything that it represents, from the extraordinary pioneering kind of futuristic architecture to that sense of being surrounded by so much culture that is so different, and yet the fluency of English everywhere as well. It really felt so interesting on so many levels for me. And once I'd spent some time in Singapore and had some really deep thinking about the script itself and conversations with Felicia, we start first of all to put together a creative team to build the world collectively. So Jeremy came on board, and Jeremy and I had worked together once before, and we talked a lot about what this office might be. And I'll hand over to Jeremy in a moment, but we were really interested in the fact that this had to be a corporate office, but we didn't want a corporate office that our audiences would walk in and recognise from the CBD in Brisbane or in Sydney. It had to be a different style of corporate. It had to be an uber kind of futuristic, young, youthful, very exciting place to work. And so we started to make choices about that, and Damien came on board as well, and our sound, which is so much a part of creating this really rich world. And in terms of the casting then, it was a really long journey and very, very important in this play. And Felicia and I had lots of conversations around the importance of casting actors as close as we possibly could to the cultural parallels of their characters. Sometimes with some scripts, obviously looking at the diversity of the actors and the ensemble work that you're creating, you're always interested to find the right person for the role. But in this script in particular, because the politics was the meat of what we were discussing, it was very important that we also had actors who had a cultural link to those characters. And we worked really, really hard to find the right cast. And we sort of cast around the country to make sure we had the right ensemble in our first season. And 3 of those actors, there was a couple who actually hadn't much experience at all acting, so there was somewhat, I suppose, a risk going on main stage without much training. But I just felt that that those actors were the right actors for the work, and one of those actors who didn't have much experience has gone on and doing more main stage, and she hasn't joined us for this season. So it's been extraordinary to see her grow. Some of you would know Merlin Tong as well, who's done some work here. She also had her own show to go off and do. And so when we finally, through COVID, came back full circle, we had an opportunity for 3 new cast to join our original cast. And again, we set about really working tirelessly to make sure we had the right actors with as close as possible cultural connection to their role, and who would not only be able to step in the roles, because you have a reduced rehearsal time when you're remounting a show, have the capability and passion and commitment and discipline to step into a role that was already created, but actually also then creatively find the courage to make that role their own as well. And so I couldn't be more delighted to, by Saturday, invite you in to just see the extraordinary work that our actors are doing. And part of the power of this piece is that it's very much an ensemble piece, and we have a really long run ahead of us, and it's just very exciting to have the opportunity to bring a really special group together like this.
I'm going to throw to the other end of the hello. I feel ages away. To all of you, but maybe to start with Jeremy, how do you go about conceiving a world for this play? Because it moves through a few different locations, and it does have to be up to the minute, as Priscilla was saying. Maybe you can all talk to that.
That's right. It's the play is split between the boardroom of Clear Day and a toilet cubicle. I won't tell you where it is. And also a foyer. So this space had to shift, but it also had to play in naturalism, because I think if you took this too far out of its kind of the language and the pace and the dialogue is so natural and so casual that if you were to do anything too stylized to it, it would throw the whole thing off and it would just look weird. So the location always had to kind of be presented as natural. So that was kind of the first challenge, kind of trying to find a way to identify those 3 locations and how we actually practically do it. And then kind of Priscilla's already talked about stylistically where that kind of came from, the idea of this kind of uber cool office, young, cool, hip. There's a line in the play where they say this is the Facebook of cosmetics. So it's that kind of vibe where it's kind of like not your kind of daggy office. It's very much more of like a cool, hip, weird furniture kind of place. Yeah. I think that kind of answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
I should also say, one of the integral parts of the design as well is the AV, and the AV designer was Anchuli Felicia King, who is also the writer. So Felicia did an amazing job of integrating this AV into the design, and it's a really important part because it gives you the amazing sense of pace, but it also ties everything together. It gives you a glimpse into the kind of digital world that all these characters are experiencing.
So this panel up the top here becomes a sort of projector screen, and if you to open the script and read it, there's all sorts of YouTube comments that are part of each scene, basically, or the transitions for each scene. And throughout the course of the play, which is probably over about 12 hours or less than 24 hours, the number of hits on the internet has grown and grown and grown, and the views. So we just see the numbers rising and rising till a point of kind of explosion. And and then in addition to some of those YouTube comments, which are part of the script, there's also some other choices that have been made creatively that Jeremy led in particular as well. So you'll be able to see this all bright and lit up when you come and see the show.
Brilliant. I just wanted to ask Damien, is this fun to light? Is it challenging to light? Be honest, like talk to us. How do you light this environment?
It's great fun because really we're creating a modern office with beautiful, warm, fresh, poppy, LED strips everywhere, light sculptures on the wall. We've got this glass dichroic filter which changes the colour of every other colour you put onto it. And then we have a very depressing, very mundane toilet scene, which is a great contrast to play with. And we've had a great time, and we've created great rhythms with all the diverse, sharp, punctuated scene changes with the sound department, and it's been good to do.
Amazing. I am definitely coming for the unmentioned actor. I'm going to ask you a question soon. But can I just talk sound for a second? What does this world sound like? Like, how do you conceive sound here? What was going through your head as you were doing the composition for this world?
Compositionally, from a music perspective, I approach things very much from a film composition point of view. And where there's 6 strong women in our show, and I wanted to emphasise a ferocity or a fierceness, alpha-ness about it. I didn't go down the track of referencing Asian, sounds. We're in a modern world. We're in a corporate world. They don't think they're Asian. They just are. We, as a Western audience, we might see that, but we're in their world. So I really went down that path from a music perspective of just trying to reflect the characters and their energies. From a sound design perspective, Michael was amazing at really sinking in with the AV, with the YouTube numbers, and I feel like when you see the numbers rise, that you get really anxious with the numbers as well, because that's what's happening. The play, the show gets ramped up, and the numbers ramp up as well. So from a sound design perspective, he tried to pull that, reflect that as well. And then at the end, I shouldn't talk too much about the end, we collaborated together from a sound and music perspective, so it all sort of comes together in this big way that I don't want to give away.
I know, it's such a hard play to talk about without talking about the ending, but I'm going to come now. Matthew, the time has come. You've sat across both incarnations of the cast, and Priscilla mentioned this before, but how is it receiving new energies, new performance energies coming at you? Is there a kind of like, oh, this is different, or this is strange to be in does the vibe change in the rehearsal room? Is that exciting for you, or is that a bit daunting, or what happens to your kind of actor molecular energy?
Molecular, on a
there you
molecular
go,
level. Hard to describe that one. Look, extremely exciting, and in advance you're going to get a new cast. So immediately energies, like you said, are shifting and different, and because every actress, every actor, every person in the cast crew is such an integral part of the show. So when that changes, it's not. Yeah, it is daunting at times because you don't know, and you've also got 2 weeks to put up a show again. Which is a proven formula. We know the show works. We know what it was. We know how it works. So we at least have that faith as a crew that it's going to work. It's going to be fine. And I think going into a 2-week rehearsal period, for me, it's a breeze. I've done the show before. It's great. But for the 3 actresses who absolutely nailed the job in 2 weeks, to pick up their own essence of themselves in the character, carry it through with confidence, that's a huge ask to do in 2 weeks. So all the hats off to them for doing it. But in terms of acting opposite, when you finally have that click, probably in the first week sometimes it can happen, or the second week, when all of a sudden that person is just reacting in a surprising way in a scene that's caught you off guard. That's the gem. That's what you're always looking for as an actor, to react off that, because it catches you off guard and it's an authentic reaction that an audience goes, oh, and they just get sucked in. So I think when you find those moments, they're gems, and I think we've all experienced that in some form or another throughout this rehearsal period, and that's exciting, and it keeps things fresh and not boring for us on stage. And 97 shows we will do by the end. We're going to want to keep finding those moments, because by 97 shows, it can get a little bit monotonous. But I think we're all, as a cast, very strong and happy to play, and I think that's what you'll all see on Saturday, a cast that's happy to play together on stage. So that's
amazing. I've got one more question that I'm coming to all of you, so think of your questions. I'm a first-time question asker, so please raise your hand if you're ready to ask a question in a moment. Priscilla, I'm going to ask you the last question. It's a total director fanboy question for you, which is, this play is like, this is like a director's, this is like a bit of a landmine in some ways, because it's a tragedy, it's a comedy, it's a black comedy, it's making some really incisive social comment, and it seems to me, when I read the play, it sits on this razor edge. and it's a bit white knuckle. Was it white knuckle to direct, or were you really clear in your vision, or were there some days we went, I don't know, like what was the vision? What was that process like for you? That dance, I guess, of putting it on stage.
Yeah, it's always a white knuckle ride. You never know, where you're going to arrive. And I suppose to answer your question, of course, there is moments you don't know, and it is a collaborative process. So I don't walk into the room knowing exactly where we're going to finish. I think one of the things I'm most proud about this production is the fact that Felicia's writing is so intelligent, and all of the things that you said, Dan, it's extraordinarily funny, it's very confronting. And there are also moments of, within the chaos, stillness and heart. And it was really important for me that when we created a cast, although the writing is snappy as anything, we actually grew skin on these ideas, and these people were whole, complex people, and women that were messy and chaotic, and but also connected. And so finding the truth in each of the characters has been part of the process for us, and working with the team, and the team that you invest so much in, is where all that joy and discovery comes. So yeah, I kind of had an idea that of course we wanted to honour the speed and the pace and the intelligence and the humour and the sharpness and the unapologetic, in-your-face kind of style that Felicia's given us. But I suppose growing the depth behind all that was also something that came with, that comes with the depth of the ensemble and the work that we do together. So it's been a group effort. Definitely.
Amazing. Okay, questions. Does anyone have a... Yes, sir. The question was, do you have any plans to perform this in Singapore? Would anyone like to take that question?
We'd love to. I think it would be very interesting. We had a really great conversation from opening night, the first season, with Susie Rong, who's a very well-known critic and reviewer in Sydney, and Susie's from Singapore, and she and Felicia had really interesting conversations about whether this play would even be considered a comedy or kind of obvious in Singapore, and the question around kind of the market, that it's very much a play written, Felicia's Thai Australian, and it's written for our Australian audiences, definitely. So it would be fascinating to take to Singapore, but perhaps it wouldn't be received in the same way. Who knows? It would be really interesting.
Yeah. Yes, sir, in the striped top. Well, that is a triple barrel question. Okay, first question, who are the newbies in the cast? Yes. And actually, this cast is from all over Australia, but who's actually got a Queensland connection? Yes, Queenslanders, brilliant. Second question, the set, has it changed for the Billy Brown?
The Billy Brown's is a very different venue to where we originally had it. We had it at a theatre called the Lennox Theatre in Parramatta at the Riverside Theatres, which is an end-on configuration. So all the core elements in there are there, and it's the same kind of shape, but it is the venue is spatially very different. So it was about kind of maximising what we can do with the space and how it fits best and how it sits in the space.
So, for example, in the Lennox, where we were performed in Wharf 2, if any of you know the Sydney Theatre Wharf, it's a lot like the Lennox, and it will be a completely flat, straight across. So one of the amazing things working with Jeremy for me was, those conversations we had when we knew we were going to tour of how we could honour the set that we have. We're not changing the set. We know what the product is, but also make it specific to the theatres we're travelling to. We're also going to Canberra and Adelaide after this as well. So, this beautiful thrust moment here, and we as a team have talked about moments when actors will find their way out there, which gives all new opportunities perhaps for insight to, say, Priya, who you'll see spending some time, and she potentially, and so there's different opportunities. We feel like this is quite spacious for us, and so there's roughly the same blocking, but with tweaks to particularly find a home in the Bille Brown.
That's right. Yeah, the next venue we go to is like an 800-seat proscenium arch auditorium after the wharf. So it's again a completely different venue, and each of them bring their own pros, and it's just things you have to look after,
Yeah, it's fascinating. If you ever get the chance to see a show in multiple theatre setups, it changes the complete vibe of the show as well, which is sometimes great. Well, not too much. No, it's going to be amazing everywhere it goes. Yes, at the back. I'm coming round.
It's a shame she's not here with us tonight. She's in Melbourne, where she's based. So she was to come to our first week of rehearsals and unfortunately had to Zoom in. We were in lockdown. This is Felicia's very first play, which is extraordinary. And actually our first production, which was the Sydney Theatre Company National Theatre of Parramatta co-production, was to be the world premiere, but we were pipped at the post by the Royal Court in London and then America followed after that. So Felicia literally exploded onto the world stage with this production. And at the time we were performing White Pearl, she also had another play in downstairs Belvoir Street, which is a small theatre downstairs, and also one at Melbourne Theatre Company on the main stage. So within Australia, but also globally, she's really been recognised as a writer to watch out for.
Amazing. I'm coming round. Yes.
On that, you said at one point that it was written for Australian audiences. Do you have any insight into how it was received in London and America from that point of view?
Damien, you saw the American. Could you answer that?
I did see the American production in Washington, and they're slightly more reserved, conservative audience in America, and but they really embraced the comedy and the shock, and they. I think it was a sold-out house when I was there, so that's always a guaranteed sign of a successful show. And London went very well, from what I understand. My wife went to see the London production, and she said it was excellent.
Brilliant. And we keep coming round. Yes, up the back, that hand shot up. Hello.
That's a great question. You wouldn't take on a main stage production needing to do all of the in-depth nitty-gritty work and expect you could achieve that in 2 weeks if you weren't really over the former production, because you don't have the time in the room. So you need to trust the company that you're working with, and obviously the depth of the work that you've done the first time round as a strong foundation for the work that you do. And obviously all rooms take on their own vibe. As I think Matt or someone said, every player in that room determines what the outcome is of that room. So you're never going to do the same production that you did before, and you don't ask actors to be the same as they were. But having said that, you have a product that you're creating as well. And within the 2 weeks, it's I suppose our unsung heroes here tonight on the panel are our stage management team, who really help us in terms of the logistics and the planning. Of course, in the first day we did a read around the table, we did some table talk, we did some character work exercises, and then we jumped up on the floor as quickly as possible, and you find the rhythm and the flow where you do some exercises sort of conversationally, and other exercises you find on the floor. So yeah, it's a race against the clock, but I suppose you really rely on the grounding of the work that you've done previously.
Maybe to the cast who have been new, who had to do this 2-week process, do you have any insight into that, perhaps? Was that daunting or terrifying or a thrill?
Terrifying. 2 weeks is not a lot of time when you've not experienced the play before. So it was, for us, I feel like it was lightning fast speed. But it was, I guess it's a sink or swim situation, and you just make it work, And it helps to have such a supportive cast, crew, and director. Like it was such a great environment to work in, even though it was so hard. But you feel supported the whole way, and by the end of rehearsal, to my utter shock, we it was like in a really good place, and I just didn't know what to expect with 2 weeks rehearsal time, but it just went so well.
Awesome. That's great. Anyone else? No? All good? Great.
Well, just to support what Lynn was saying, I think the biggest thing coming into a show that's already been done is the faith and support that you get from the cast, from the director, from the crew. It makes all the difference. There's days sometimes I'm coming in and I'm still a little bit like, coming over my head with this. This is insane. But everyone, they just lift you up. They give you that belief to keep going. It honestly made all the difference for me.
Amazing, great. Yes, in the white up the back. Yeah, did everyone hear that question? I'll just repeat that question. The gentleman up the back is just wondering about the cast talking about the multiple perspectives at play in the work, maybe what they want us as an audience to take away out into the world after watching this play. Great question.
Does anyone know? So I was born in Korea, grew up in Cairns, and it wasn't until I stepped into the role of Sujin that I realised I had a very stereotypical idea of what Korean women my age were like. And that's thanks to the K-dramas that I hardly ever watch, but I just felt like a massive thing for what my perspective on Koreans was I thought they, all talk up here, and it's no resonance when they speak because they're very polite. And then when I stepped in, during the exploration of Sujin, Priscilla and the voice coach Amy Hume, they were telling me to drop my voice, to lower my voice, and I was like, "What do you mean?" I didn't get it for the first few weeks. It was a real struggle for me, and then fast forward, end of that production. Well, no, end of rehearsals. I got it by production, but I just realized wow, I get it, and I had to really, I guess, reflect on what my view was on Asian women, on Korean women, because Felicia, she's not even Korean, and she just had a better idea of what Korean women were than I did. So I think for an audience, no matter what your background is, every single person, I think it's fair to say that we have an opinion on different cultures and what to expect, and we've had experiences from many cultures living in Australia, but I guess I want the audience to be pleasantly surprised and I guess more informed about the depth and complexity of cultures in general and not just Asians. And each character, we're from all over Asia, so it is a melting pot, but the specificity and how different each of us are as well is just so beautiful. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, probably time for one or two more questions. Sorry.
Take it away, Mei Lee.
Sorry, I just wanted to say from a non-acting perspective, I was born in Malaysia. I'm Chinese Malaysian, so I'm very close to Singapore, the Singapore Chinese character, and I'm a bit older than I think some of you, and I never saw any Asian faces in pop culture when I was growing up, and certainly not on the stage, and very rarely on TV. Only just recently I feel it's more in even just ABC shows. And so, the script that Felicia wrote really reflected my personal experience growing up, being around my family, where they're really quite racist to other Asians, and I felt like this is reflecting real life for me, and I think if I'd seen this as a younger person, if I'd seen it on the show, I would probably feel a bit more connected with the rest of the world. So I really value Felicia's contribution to this multicultural perspective, and I hope that it continues.
Wow, sorry. In terms, when I first started this show, I'm from Queensland, and going back to a lot of the demographic in this room, and also myself being the token white guy, I can honestly say I learnt more than I ever thought I would in a show like this, and I'm sure you all will as well. Things I had no understanding of, never been exposed to, and that was extremely exciting for someone like myself. And we're also very excited, I think, to know how far our audiences have changed as well when it comes to the last 2 years. A lot's happened in the last 2 years. We've had COVID-19 outbreak. Me Too movement has been moving is moving forward even more so. So audience, Black Lives Matter. So audiences have changed as well. So I think we're going to learn a lot as well from even people's reactions to what you're about to see on stage. Is going to be informative for us as well. So I think we're all going to learn as well. Yeah.
I cannot wait to see this play in front of an audience and to see what it does to an audience. A couple more questions. Anyone? I'm just looking for the final hands. Yes, down the front.
Can I ask the comeback actors, the comeback actors, what it's like to come back after this big gap of 2 years and this on again, off again, and the problems in between? What's it like coming back?
The question's for the comeback actors, which I love as a term, comeback actors. It's kind of great. Season 2. Season 2 cast, what's it like to come back after such a big break?
I have to say I was a bit tentative coming back to the show because the first time around it had taken a lot out of me to play this woman who was... to play this woman who just has so much drive and energy and focus and kind of is escalating throughout this piece. And yes, people have been known to call her a bitch. So I was wondering, how am I going to be able to sustain that for 3 months, doing that every day, sometimes twice a day. But after the first read that we had as an ensemble, it was just so much fun to hear, not to be a bitch, but to hear the voices of the different characters and particularly the new energies that were brought and the new energies that came from the comeback actors as well, because we had... our subconscious minds had been thinking about it somehow over the 2 years, even though we didn't know it would come back. And we had changed as people. And so my approach to this character had changed again. So while on the page you've got the same kind of stimulus coming at you when you're looking at the script and looking for clues as to, what does she like eat for breakfast, or what does she think like when she's confronted with stress. Those answers change, and it's that kind of freshness that made it really, really exciting to come back and play, exactly as Matt said before. I'm so pumped now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm so pumped.
Oh, say it.
You go, mate. Oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm pumped as well. The reason is, you're right, tag on to Matt as well, that the world changed as well. The first time I read the script and cast it as a Japanese new girl in the office, I was so afraid to play the stereotype Japanese role, which usually I get casted quite often in a Western culture. And then I talked to you, Priscilla, for a long time as well, how much I should put accent more, or how behavior do I need to play, what audience expected to see Japanese girl versus who I am is quite different. And then how can I find the line? And that was all I was worried about. But now that I've done that in Parramatta and that works, that now I can go a lot deeper, I can take a risk. And also it's so important to go deeper and see that changed the group dynamic as well. And personally, I feel like it's such an important play right now while Asian hates and all the movement is happening. And it's not in Western culture, between Asia as well, that we need to share this strong message. So I feel pumped and I'm very excited to be here too.
I definitely wasn't I spend a lot of time with Xiao in the play, and I was not envious of her at the end of the day. When I look at her, I'm like, how you going? And her face is, so much info. So it was so much fun because the lines are pretty much still there. The blocking wasn't too different, was it? I can't remember. Maybe I'm brain dead too. But it was just so much fun playing and having just the first time I did it, I remember I was so stressed out because I couldn't get the accent, and I felt like such a bad Korean because I couldn't do a Korean accent. And this expectation also that I found out later that like just because you're from somewhere doesn't mean you have to know how to speak in that accent. So I went through a lot of personal like self-reflecting, as you could probably tell. But this time around, it was so fun just being able to play and from having done it before and what's already like marinated and sunk in, bringing it back out with like more flavor and depth, and it was so much fun.
I just want to add really quickly as well, like the thing with theatre that you can do that you can't do with film is learn from a show or learn from the show and then do something different next time. And that's what makes it so exciting to keep coming back and do it over and over again. And I feel like that's what the comeback actors have definitely done with the previous run into this run, and it'll just keep growing and growing with each show that we do in this season.
We only had 11 shows last time, was it? 9. Oh, we had 9 shows. So like by the 9th show, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I'm finding. Oh, it's closed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was unfinished business. Like we were just getting our legs, and I think the other, like just on a personal level, like having theatres reopen again and getting the call up saying, hey, we want to put this show on again. As an actor, you just can't wait to walk the floorboards again. So for me, comeback actor was a no-brainer. It was yes, I want back on that stage, and then that was.
Was this the last show you did pre-COVID?
No, but yeah,
Yeah, no, it was the last show for me, and then first show. Oh.
I'll just say a disclaimer: don't be fooled by these people. I met these people I met them in the green room 45 seconds before we came on stage, and I was actually terrified walking in because I'd read the play and I was going, oh my gosh, there's Priya. Don't look at her. Don't look at her. I was terrified because these characters are. Their capacity for meanness made me go, oh my God. Frightened even me. So just keep these beautiful people in mind as you watch the show, because their transformation is going to be stunning and really, really exciting. We have to leave it there, but I want to say, Priscilla, as the captain of this ship, is there anything you want to say to our audience, just to leave in their mind before we all walk out tonight, to hold at the front of hold space with as they come in to the show?
I think we're all just so excited to be here, and it means a lot to us that there was such care to come and is this working? Yeah. To come and find out about this work before we even get going. So it feels like a very warm welcome that you've given us, and we hope we're just really excited to share this work with you. We had 9 shows in our first season, and within that time we've jumped up, and this is a 96 season run all across the country. So I hope that speaks volumes for the work that you're going to see, and come prepared to be challenged, confronted, but also to be able to laugh heartily, sometimes perhaps at things you might have thought are inappropriate, who knows, and walk out thinking about what you see, because that's definitely, I think, the huge meal, delicious meal that Felicia's helped us prepare for you.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Now comes the time of the briefing we love the most in a great Queensland theatre, and in fact, a great Queensland tradition. It's the raffle. So come on out. Now, I know, quite exciting. Everyone get your tickets ready. Now, I just need someone from the cast, it's a tradition, to jump up and draw the winner. Who would love to do Yes! All right, now before you do that, can everyone just make a drum roll? Yep. And Blue E82. Blue E82. Okay, going, anyone? Going once. Going twice. Redraw. Here we go. Come on in.
Another
Sorry,
cast
Blue
member.
E82. Here we go. Green. Green. E. 51. Green E51. Oh, come on down. Collect your prize. Okay, one more community service announcement. So, Taming of the Shrew. Who saw Taming of the Shrew? Oh, brilliant. Who didn't? Well, I've got great news for you. It's the first of our Queensland Theatre at Home digital series, and it's currently available to stream for 1 week. So if you missed it during in the theatre, or if you want to see it again, you can watch it on demand until June 20 online through the Queensland Theatre website. So put that in your diaries now. Finally, thank you so much. Come on down, Winner. Come down. Yeah, winners get precedence. Thank you so much for coming out tonight, for supporting Australian theatre and new Australian voices. That's really, really important. I think I speak on behalf of everyone in the audience after that chat that we are so excited to meet your creations, / terrified. And to all of you in the theatre tonight, if you want to come down and say hello, please feel free. And then we're going to have to move out of the venue because this is a work site, as you can see with everything in the theatre, because these guys are teching tonight and opening very, very shortly. So once again, please put your hands together for the entire cast and crew of White Pearl. I'm Motley Lewis. I'm Daniel Evans. Good night.